Welcome to Studio One on this Thursday, April the 2nd. I'm Tom Buring. With us today, the chairman of the Space Studies program at the Center for Aerospace Sciences, Dr. David Webb. Also, Jim Shearer, chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Smoking, will address the smoke-free environment issue. And on our Open Door segment, we'll feature a concert clip from a Paul Simon classic. But first to the news desk with Lynn Shocker and Courtney Bateman. Courtney?
Thank you, Tom. For the first time since the Vietnam War, a U.S. serviceman and his wife have defected to the Soviet Union.
They are William F. Roberts and his wife from West Germany. They had been stationed in West Germany earlier. Soviet officials say Roberts was granted asylum today by the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet because, quote, they were afraid of being victimized for their progressive views. Roberts said he had been persecuted while stationed in West Germany in the U.S. Army, but the Soviet Union didn't explain. They gave no details of when the couple entered the Soviet Union or how they arrived. And your chances of landing a summer job look good. Job Service Regional Manager Larry Anderson says the prospects are good for just about everyone this summer, but you have an especially good chance if you're interested in the service industry like hotels and restaurants. Anderson says technical jobs such as those at the Air Force Base are also available. One reason is the low unemployment rate in Grand Forks. It's currently 4%, lower than the state average. Anderson suggests that you put your applications in early, but there is a good chance you can pick up some extra cash this summer.
Briefly today, NASA says it will ask rocket companies to submit designs for safer, more powerful solid fuel booster rockets to propel the space shuttle in the mid-1990s. 5 companies will be invited to participate in an open competition for developing a new design.
IBM tried to leap ahead of the competition in the personal computer field today. It introduced a new family of products that is more powerful and harder to copy than the earlier models. IBM says the new products are the broadest range of computer systems ever offered in personal computers.
And finally today, it seems lately that the wives of Soviet leaders have been in the news more than the leaders themselves. Nancy Reagan and Imelda Marcos, just to name a few. Now, Reza Gorbachev, wife of the Soviet leader, is the target of an attack. The New York Times reports that an underground tape being shown in Russia shows Mrs. Gorbachev shopping in French boutiques and buying jewelry in London with an American Express card, apparently before her husband came to power. The Times say Gorbachev's aides are concerned because they see it as an attempt to undermine the Soviet leader. The origin of the tape is not known. Tom?
So how will that work? She'll be in front of the Kremlin and don't leave home without it? Mrs. Mikhail Gorbachev?
Perhaps.
Thanks, Courtney, Lynn. We're going to break for this, but stay with us. A look at the weather plus much more when we return here to Studio One.
Studio One is sponsored by JCPenney, located in Columbia Mall. Smarter than ever, JCPenney.
Some of you want jobs, and you come here to learn a skill. Some of you want college, and you join the Air National Guard for the new GI Bill and bonus money. But no matter what kind of training you want, I make everybody the same deal. You give me 2 days a month and 15 days a year. Come here ready to work, ready to learn. And I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Fair enough?
All this week on the Golden Years of Television, the Jack Benny Program with Jane Mansfield.
I happen to know they got all the money from the bank.
Well, where do you think the bank got it?
Rochester and the Sportsmen.
We recommend Calypso song.
And a fabulous talent show. On the Golden Years of Television, all this week on NCTV.
Still up ahead on this edition of Studio One, we'll talk with a visionary for space exploration and development, Dr. David Webb. Also discussing the pursuit of a smoke-free society will be Jim Shearer. And of course, we'll have this week's Open Doors segment featuring a timeless classic retold by Paul Simon and friends. First things first, however, and meteorologist Pam Coonan is here with the weather. Pam?
Thank you, Tom. At 4 o'clock in Grand Forks, we were under a cloudy sky and had a temperature of 35 degrees. The relative humidity was 64%, and the winds were northerly at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Yesterday's national extremes ranged from 91 degrees in Palm Springs, California, to 2 degrees in Lake Yellowstone, Wyoming. This morning at 6 a.m., a low-pressure system was over central Michigan with an occluded front extending into the New England states. An occluded front occurs when warm air is pushed above cold air. The warm air cools and then condensation occurs. And this is what's happened in the New England states. We have some rain in New England, snow in southern Ontario and Quebec, and snow in the Ohio Valley. A cold front extends to the southeastern states, and some rain is associated with this front in Tennessee and Kentucky. Temperatures behind the front are in the upper 20s, while in advance of the front, they're in the mid-40s. This cold front extends all the way down into Texas and then up into western New Mexico, then becomes stationary in Utah and extends up to Oregon. High pressure dominates the central plains today. This morning there was some light snow in western North Dakota, South Dakota, and in western Nebraska. The snow was caused by an upper level disturbance which is now affecting the Grand Forks area, and it's been giving us the cloudiness. I'll be back later in the program with the forecast and the weekend outlook. Tom?
Okay, thank you, Pam. Our congratulations go to the Fighting Sioux hockey team on their national championship victory last Saturday night. Tell you, this will be a season remembered for a long time. While in the process of taking the national title, the Sioux set 30 new NCAA, WCHA, and UND records. What a year, huh? When we return, we will meet Jim Shearer, chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Smoking. We'll discuss the strides taken for a smoke-free society.
Hello, and welcome to our special guest, McGruff the Crime Dog.
Thanks, Dick.
Now, do I understand that neighborhood watch programs have reduced crime in some areas as much as 50%?
That's right, but there's more to be done. Start a volunteer escort service for older folks.
Aha, good news for the old folks at home, eh? What about the young folks?
Start McGruff houses.
Which are?
Houses kids can duck into in case of trouble.
For more information, write to this address and help
take a fight out of crime.
A college man. I got me a college man.
But, Mom, we can't afford college.
Nonsense. You worked hard to get accepted, so I'll get you on that bus somehow.
The United Negro College Fund has helped thousands of students, but the fact is, the job's not done. There are thousands we can't reach, not without the funds. So support the United Negro College Fund.
Welcome back. It's 7 minutes past the hour. The U.S. Surgeon General is campaigning for a smoke-free society by the year 2000. Now, if he is successful, United Hospital employees in Grand Forks will have a 13-year head start on promoting good health habits in a working environment. Jim Shearer is the chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Smoking, or more accurately, probably non-smoking. Is that right?
Non-smoking would probably be more apropos. And also, we're looking at tobacco in general, not just smoking forms, but also smokeless forms.
Now, over at the hospital, I understand that you are into your second phase, which is no smoking by employees in any area of the building. You're going to a goal by July 4th of no smoking, period. Is that right, in the hospital, by patients or visitors?
Right. 4th of July would be the target date for visitors and patients.
Now, is it an issue of rights?
To some it is. For employees, originally it was, but also as an employer, United Hospital has rights as well, and in determining what their work environment should be.
Now, Jim, you're not a smoker.
No, I'm not.
Have you ever been a smoker?
No.
But I understand the board and the committee that is made up of 15, there's a mix of smokers and non-smokers.
That's right.
What kind of problems do you run into? I suppose often balance and debate. What type of things are brought up at those meetings?
Right now, it's more implementation, trying to support the smokers that are trying to get through an 8-hour day or 12-hour day without smoking, and also to show the non-smokers that we as a hospital support them as well.
Are doctors kind of caught in a hard place in a rock with the fact that they are themselves, this is implying to them, at the same time they make their livelihood perhaps from smokers? How are they caught in this?
Some more than others, in that some doctors are smokers, and United Hospital has taken the position that healthcare industry needs to take the lead in showing what good health habits are.
Corporations like IBM, AT&T, I understand, have banned their employees to smoke, period, on the job and at home. But the medical institution itself really should set the example. Is that right?
I think so. We know what the medical effects of tobacco, both the smoke type and smokeless type, and really the healthcare industry needs to take the lead.
Will that go into something where employees then will be addressed concern with weight issues?
That's been brought up. Again, we haven't addressed it specifically at United Hospital, looking at this point to the tobacco and the effects of nicotine.
Okay, we'll be watching this issue, I'm sure, with great concern. Jim
Okay.
Shearer. Jim Shearer, chairman of the Tobacco-Free Work Environment issue. Studio One continues after this.
All this week on Campus America, students demonstrate against racism at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. The president of Rose State in Oklahoma gets 10 years for embezzling school funds. An art exhibit at Bowling Green University featuring the art of fishing. A karate marathon at UMass Amherst. And a spring break update from Daytona Beach.
Come rain or shine, there's parties galore.
On Campus America, all this week on NCTV.
Welcome back. Next week, the Grand Forks Public Library will be sponsoring special events celebrating National Library Week. And in honor of the occasion, we've reached back into the archives of our own tape library and have selected a Paul Simon classic. Accompanied by Jennifer Holliday and Luther Vandross, our Open Door segment features Like a Bridge Over Troubled Water.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough, friends just can't be found. Your time has come to shine, and all of your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Lord, if you ever need a friend, look around, I'm saying right behind, just like a bridge over troubled waters. I will ease your mind, just like a bridge over troubled waters. I will ease your mind, yeah. I'll be your friend, your friend. You gotta be a friend. You gotta be a friend. I believe you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be a friend.
Jennifer Holliday, Luther Vandross, the Hollywood Presbyterian Choir, and of course, Paul Simon, Like a Bridge Over Troubled Water. If you're looking for an evening event, the musical Working begins tonight at the Burtness Theater and will run through Saturday, each with an 8 o'clock start. There are still plenty of tickets available if you're interested in that. Also tonight, the UND Jazz Ensemble and Choir perform at the Chester Fritz at 8 o'clock as well. When we come back, we'll look at the final frontier with Chairman of the Space Studies Program, Dr. David Webb.
Guess where Bill is?
Blue chip Bill? Gotta be Wall Street.
No, he joined the Peace Corps.
I thought that went out with the 60s.
Peace Corps. It's creating food systems in Africa, turning deserts back into forests, and fighting malaria in Asia. It's hands-on and hats off. It's making a friend. It's been tough, but for 25 years, the Peace Corps has been making a difference in the world.
Bill, I can't believe it.
Peace Corps, the toughest job you'll ever love.
All this week on New Grooves, Simply Red. Run DMC.
Rock around, that's right, on time is tricky. Tricky, huh?
And the Del Fuegos.
On New Grooves with Meg Griffin, all this week on NCTV.
It's 19 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Studio One. Pioneering the Space Frontier. What sounds like a film title is actually a final report issued by the National Commission on Space, a committee appointed by the President to prepare future space agenda for the United States. Joining us is a member of that committee, as well as chairman of the Space Studies Program for the Center of Aerospace Science, Dr. David Webb. It's good to have you, Dr. Webb.
Nice to be here, Tom.
Can you explain to us the national and international significance of a Space Studies program here in North Dakota?
Oh, well, it's a fantastic situation that is here in North Dakota because the Aerospace Center here is the finest facility in the nation. And it is an ideal place to start a space studies program, which is going to be a multidisciplinary approach towards the whole area of space and the humanization of space and the settlement of space. And it's going to start right here in North Dakota.
I'd like you to talk about that. You have said that Western society is component-minded. and that to get a bigger picture, literally a global picture from a space point of view, that integrated disciplines are necessary for a revolution in education.
Absolutely. We've tended in the last 400 years to reduce everything down to its component parts, because this is the way the knowledge and the scientists have developed knowledge in the Western world. The problem with now we're entering space is that space is a holistic area of concern, and space satellites look back at the Earth and they see the Earth as a whole, not as a series of parts. And when we're going back into space, when we're settling space now, we have to learn how to think as wholly as possible rather than in component parts.
Could you elaborate a little bit and give us an example of the type of disciplines that are being integrated?
Well, at the present time, we have got a program running here which we're looking at a variable gravity research facility in which we're actually learning how to live in different gravity fields. We still don't know the impact on the human being of long-term stay in zero gravity, and it's very severe. We do know it has damaged the Soviet cosmonauts in the long term in their heart and bone demineralization and problems, and yet we're talking about going to Mars. We don't know how to do this. So we're looking at this, and we've got 16 academic disciplines involved in this study at the present time, right from psychology, sociology, political science, through the major sciences, through the earth sciences, the ocean, meteorological, and so on.
And it's no coincidence that space is really limitless. It does show a hopeful sign in terms of growth, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. We've bitten off enough of mankind to chew on for the rest of our days, I think. Once we leave this earth, we're leaving our cradle, and we're starting into an adventure which has no end, whatever.
Can you
can't see it.
Excuse me, Dr. Webb, can you talk about life in space in the future? What's being done with that?
It's going to be very significant, Tom, as to whether we in the United States are going to decide to play a role in this at all, because at the present time we're falling so far behind the other nations, and the Soviet Union is just leaving us as it's learned how to live and operate in space. They've had people staying 10 months in space. The people who are up there now, the 2 cosmonauts in the new space station, are probably going for a year or more. They're planning to go to Mars, they're planning to go to the moon, and we're deciding whether or not we're going to build a space station, and we're fiddling while Rome burns. It's a real issue for the US. We are either going to decide to go, in which case we better get into the ballpark, or else, in knowing this country, we can decide not to go, in which case, well, let's make that plain and just drop out of the race altogether. The problem is it has major effect for your generation. It's our generation's responsibility, in my opinion, to keep the door open, but let's be quite frank, it's a closing door. And we, if we're not very careful, will in the next 10 years make a decision. Whether we make it formally or informally, the decision will be taken as to whether we will even continue to go into space. We're not spending enough, we haven't got the vehicles, the shuttle disaster has made things even more difficult, NASA is in a shambles, frankly the public don't understand it, and we need to get with it.
Now the future is not without a price to pay, and the shuttle disaster did remind us of the cost that's involved. Are we willing as a nation to pay that kind of price?
Well, I think we should be. After all, the first settlers that came over here, 52% of them died in the first 2 years. We're going into a risk-free society. It's absolutely extraordinary. I cannot understand what has happened to us. I'm terribly sorry that 7 people died. That is inevitable. More people are going to die. If we're going to go into space, how can we expect to open up the frontier of the universe when we lost hundreds and thousands of people in opening up the West to settlement? And we cannot expect to do the universe risk-free.
When we talk about the future, looking at the situation the way it is, my generation, what will we reap from, or how will we reap with what's going on now?
Well, you can run into real problems if we close the door. Let's face it, the new economic frontier is space. This is where the whole growth is going to occur in the next 25 years, and your generation better play a role in this. And if we in the United States are going to play a role, you've got to be there.
And it's combining space with computer technology, is that right?
Well, that is, of course, an enormous area of where we can actually learn much better how to manage this globe from using space satellites with high-powered computer technology. And of course, we have space satellites right now which are putting back about 3 billion bits of data a day. We're not even using it. We've got to learn how to use that. That's a very big issue that we can do a lot of work here in North Dakota, and I hope we will.
Now, you yourself, Dr. Wood, have an impressive resume. Among those, would you ever like to fly on a shuttle?
Oh yes, I would like to fly on a shuttle, but I would like us to get our act together and build a better one the next time. It was built down to a price, not up to a standard.
Is NASA being responsible?
Oh, I think NASA's been responsible. The problem really is that the Congress and the administration keep cutting the budget, and you cannot design and build a proper space vehicle if you keep cutting the budget on the engineers.
Dr. David Webb, thank you for your time.
A real pleasure.
Interesting. Dr. David Webb, chairman of the Space Studies program here at the university. We'll be back with more after this.
All this week on the Adult Cartoon Show, we'll fire you up as great literature hangs you by the seat of your pants. Can't get off? Shake it up. Swing, baby. Tutti Frutti. Rinky Dink. Cheer 'em on as Nero fiddles and Rome burns. See Hot Lips wiggle and shake. Chop, chop, chop. Oh, yuck. Deep muck. Bombs away. So turn on and tune in to the Adult Cartoon Show all this week on NCTV.
Welcome back to Studio One. The Sportsman Show starts today and continues through Sunday at the Grand Forks City Arena. There will be a variety of events and stage shows, including comedians Williams and Reed tonight at 9 o'clock. Now, Pam Coonan's here to give us one final look at the weather. Pam?
Thank you, Tom. Let's look at our forecast map. Tomorrow at 6 a.m., we can expect a warm front to extend from the North Dakota-Canadian border to a low-pressure system in northern Canada. Now, temperatures behind this front will range in the mid to upper 20s, while in advance of this front, they'll be cooler. Now, this is due to a high-pressure ridge, which is pushing into that area. It'll keep skies clear, and there will be some radiational cooling due to the clear skies. Temperature tomorrow at 6 a.m. in Grand Forks will be 22 degrees. As this warm front moves into northern Minnesota, they'll see an increase in cloudiness and also an increase in temperature. But here in Grand Forks tomorrow, we can expect a high temperature of 46 degrees. Our winds will be southerly at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday night, the low will be near 25 degrees. And on Saturday, we can expect a high in the mid to upper 50s. Then on Sunday, we can expect a high in the lower 60s. Tom?
And now don't forget, Pam, this weekend you put the clock ahead.
That's right, Sunday at 2 a.m.
Because if you don't, you'll be here all by yourself next week, 1 hour late. Thanks, Pam. A reminder that the Charlotte Danstrom Conference, sponsored by the Women's Studies, starts tomorrow. That's a 2-day conference at UND with the theme being Women's Journeys. We'd like to thank our guest, Dr. David Webb, chairman of the Space Studies program, Jim Shearer, chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee for Smoking, and our friends at NCTV. From all of us here at Studio One, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.